Paulie Malignaggi here for Paulie TV, and today we're going to be talking about the return of Ryan Garcia. Everybody's been waiting for it. Everybody's been asking about it. When is he going to come back? Is he really committed to boxing? Is he really not committed to boxing? Well, you know what? We're going to have a little bit of a discussion. You know, I've already gone into this several other times about my opinion of both his ability and of his commitment or lack thereof to boxing. But he's coming back soon. He's taking on Emmanuel Tagoe, who is a really rugged Ghanaian lightweight, really rugged guy who's kind of floated below the radar. But I've been hearing about Tagoe for a while. You know, I have not gotten a lot of looks at him. It's ironically enough, everybody knows I'm a big soccer / football / calcio fan. And back when I was on Twitter more proficiently, I met Asamoah Gyan, the Ghanaian international soccer star. Who had a very good career, played in a couple of World Cups as well. And he's a big boxing fan, you know, so we were chatted up about certain fights and whatnot, and he told me he was managing Emmanuel Tagoe. And I've since lost touch with Asamoah Gyan. I'm not really on Twitter anymore, and I didn't have his number, but, you know, once in a while we'd message each other about, you know, boxing, about soccer, about stuff like that. And I remember he was telling me about Tagoe, and I was telling him about how, you know, my belief that Ghana creates really, you know, is pretty much the boxing hotbed in Africa as far as its ability to create world-class fighters. Obviously, there's fighters from all over Africa, but I felt like Ghana was the place where, you know, you see the most world-class African fighters coming out of anyway. You know, not that other places haven't had world-class fighters, but Ghana, when you think of African boxing, you typically think of Ghana, right? So I was telling him about this. I was telling him about, you know, it could be, you know, when he was telling me about Tagoe, this is years ago now. You know, Comey was on the rise, so I was thinking about, wow, what an incredible fight that would be if you guys could do like a stadium fight in Ghana with Comey and Tagoe. I mean, I think that would be insane, you know. And Gyan, maybe he was a little bit partial towards Tagoe because he was managing, but he said, trust me, Emmanuel Tagoe is a better fighter than Richard Comey, and you'll see it. Now, I have not gotten to see this, obviously. This is years ago, and once again, I reiterate, I have not spoken to Gyan in a while, and I don't even know if he's still managing him or whatnot. But my curiosity was always there about Emmanuel Tagoe ever since, you know. And in the years since, Comey has had a large measure of success while Tagoe has still floated below the radar. But in looking at his record, he's been relatively active. He's beaten some very good fighters. Not very, very good fighters, but he's beaten some solid fighters, but just hasn't gotten the recognition and hasn't gotten the opportunity in the U.S. So here we are. You know, Ryan Garcia needs a comeback fight, a fight where, you know, he's coming back off of a long layoff of a couple of fights where, you know, for one reason or another, he had to pull out, or he just wasn't signing them, or he wasn't staying active in general. You know, he was for a while after the Luke Campbell fight, he was in the conversation with all these guys, with Haney, with Tank Davis, and with Teofimo Lopez. He was smack in the middle of the conversation. But since then, I feel like those guys have sort of elevated themselves to a different level, a different platform, while Garcia has been inactive, prioritized other things in his life. Whether you agree with that, with him prioritizing other things in his life is a different matter altogether. But one thing it shows me is that boxing is not that important to him as it is to certain other people, certain other individuals, and certain other top-level fighters. So we're here, you know, Tagoe and Garcia. I personally don't think it's an easy fight. Tagoe is a rugged dude. Maybe stylistically it may favor Garcia because Garcia may be the quicker guy, quite faster feet and whatnot. But Tagoe is a rugged guy, has a good chin. Only has one loss. He's 32 or 33-1. And he's a guy who, you know, typically fighters from that side of the world come with good chins, solid skills. You know, Ghanaian fighters, speaking of, you know, solid skills. They're hard to break mentally, you know, so they're in there for the long haul. So I'm curious myself, you know, how stylistically the matchup will go, and what and you know, just how Garcia will look. You know, I would assume Golden Boy makes the matchup because they feel that, you know, Garcia's chances of winning are high. You know, you're not going to get your star pupil beat, but I'm wondering, you know, can he win? And also, because I think at this point people don't want to see Garcia in with just soft touches anymore, especially after having beaten Campbell. I think, people want to see him in good fights. And plus, you got to start monetizing a guy like Garcia, too, in the ring. He's got all this fan base and fanfare. So you want to put him in some pretty good fights,
So you brought up how you first heard about Tagoe. How did you hear about Ryan? I feel like that was just kind of implied,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know the first time I heard about Ryan, honestly. Because I feel like Ryan's just such a big part of the conversation when it comes to boxing. He's a big deal, So it doesn't stick out to me because I heard about Ryan and then you heard about him again and again and again and again and again. So I don't even know when I first heard about Ryan Garcia. But, obviously there was a point where Ryan was coming up the ladder and gaining a lot of fanfare. I remember when I first kind of took notice, actually, people were talking about his social media presence, which I had never noticed before. And I saw sort of a program where was talking about how he's such a big presence on social media. And this was a while ago, and I was like, really? I was like, I don't know, I would never know that. And then, so I started wondering, are these fans for real, or are these like bot followers? I started wondering, what if this was an organic follower base that he had. Because I was like, I don't think he's that well known in boxing yet to have this kind of organic follower base. But where you can tell where guys buy their likes is you can and their followers is with the likes. Do the likes kind of match up to the amount of followers somebody has? You typically, if somebody has bought a lot of followers, they got like almost no likes on their posts, but they'll have a bunch of followers. That's usually a sign where somebody has bought their followers. I don't know to what degree that makes that much of a difference if you bought your followers and you're not getting likes.
A lot of people associate that. Yeah, if you have a lot of followers and no likes, then it's fake.
Yeah, then you bought
Ryan has.
Yeah, but Ryan's
he's real.
Ryan's profiles when I looked for this, it stood the test of time. I mean, he was getting the likes with his posts. So I'm like, man, this guy's really has these followers. They're organic, So I started to, that's probably when I noticed him more. I had already heard about him. That's probably when I started to notice him more. I'm like, what, I started to get more curious. Like, why are so many people behind this guy? Obviously, he's a good-looking kid. He's got some skills, and so there's, he knows how to speak on camera. He's got a good personality, all that good stuff, of course. But, I was wondering if there was something extra there. And of course, in today's social media age, there's, could be anything that makes you very, very popular. So Ryan was very, very popular, but I don't remember the exact moment that I first heard about Ryan. That was when I first started to take notice of him. With Gian, I can tell you when I first heard with Tagoe, I can tell you when I first heard of him, and that was when I was talking to him about Gian on Twitter.
I feel like that's how most guys like Ryan end up being. You don't even know when the first time you heard about him was. And that's what kind of separates him from other boxers, right?
Yeah. I can tell you, he's sort of always been in the conversation, I guess, in one way or another, I started hearing about him before I ever saw him fight, to be honest. Like, I didn't see him fight, and I was hearing like people talking about him, and then, like I said, when I still hadn't seen him fight, and then I saw that he has got I saw this program where they were talking about he has this big follower base, and then I was really curious, Then I'm like, okay, because you've always got the prospects that people talk about, where, this kid's supposed to be good. So you start to sort of keep those names in your mind when you're a boxing fan. Okay, there's some prospects that people are talking about. Even if you haven't seen them fight, those names start to resonate in your mind, right? So when you hear them again, you sort of start to pay more attention. But with Ryan, sometimes you haven't seen them fight in a while, or you won't have seen them fight, And so that's sort of how it was with Garcia.
So this is only his third fight since November of 2019.
Yeah, and of course the pandemic is in there too, so that doesn't help. Plus whatever else he had going on, that doesn't help his boxing progression. But again, he's a kid who's a good fighter. I personally don't like these long layoffs when you got to fight rugged guys like Tagoe, because I feel like this. Okay, with Garcia, people were talking about he doesn't really want to be a fighter. But a guy who doesn't really want to be a fighter is not going to get up off the canvas from that monster knockdown he suffered from Luke Campbell. So he got up off especially come back roaring and win the fight. So I thought, okay, well, that takes out the doubters about it, the people who say he doesn't want to be a fighter and he just wants to be a camera guy, you know, there's a camera whore, be in front of the cameras and whatnot. That takes out that superstition of him, that stereotype of him, because he just got up off the canvas in a monster knockdown and scored a knockout, you know. But then when I saw him be really inactive after that and just come up with, you know, whether they're reasons or excuses, you know, you guys can make up your mind. I started to say, wow, you know what? Maybe he did get up from that knockdown. He showed his heart, but it made him realize, yo, you know what? If I'm in there, I'm at risk to get hurt. I'm at risk for these kind of things to happen. So then I started wondering if he was like Victor Ortiz, where Victor actually said to people on national TV after he got stopped by Maidana that he shouldn't be getting hit like this, and he doesn't need this in his life. I'm paraphrasing, but you know, he did say he doesn't need to get hit like this, but he didn't say I don't need this in my life. But he paraphrasing, he basically implied that he doesn't need this in his life. So I started to wonder, you know, if Garcia is starting to think the same thing, like, oh, maybe he doesn't need this in his life. We'll see. I mean, well, you can kind of get the personality of somebody in the way they fight, their enthusiasm and whatnot. I think, you know, I don't think Tagoe is a cakewalk. But if Golden Boy made the matchup and allowed the matchup, I would assume that they see a stylistic favorability towards Ryan Garcia, because you're not going to be looking to get your star people knocked off in a 50-50 fight at this point. At the same time, because he's so popular, you can't just give him a cupcake either. But again, with the hype that I've heard about Tagoe in the past from Asamoah Gyan, and just, you know, never seeing him live up to it, but continue to win nonetheless, I start to wonder if Tagoe is a sleeper as well, because he's a guy who's kept winning, but he's never gotten the recognition and the association with the top level guys. And he's kept winning. If you look at his record, he's kept winning against pretty solid opposition. You know,
32-1 isn't a cakewalk.
No, and also he's got 32-1 against, you know, winning records, good, pretty good fighters, title challengers and whatnot. So he's you know, I start to wonder if he's a guy that's being slept on and could pose more of a danger than they're thinking. Because a guy like this, if you put yourself in Tagoe's situation, he's 33-1, right? Whatever, 32-1 on BoxRec. Yeah. So you know, he got 33 pro fights. He's been searching, salivating for a big shot, and it's not come. And he keeps winning, and it's not come. And he keeps winning, and it's not come. So, you know, a guy like him could be roaring to just get his opportunity. He's born, in 89, so he's about 32, 33 years old. So he wants this shot, and he's been salivating for it, and he's finally got it. You know, he's been having trouble breaking through despite all the winning he's done. So I'm very curious to see if he's the sleeper. I'm very curious if he's the sleeper here as well. And people are really underestimating him, because, you know, the mentality of a fighter also has to be kept in mind. And I tell people all the time, me at 25 years old when I fought Cotto is not the same mindset as me at 36 years old when I fought Sam Egginton. When I fought Cotto at 25, I was willing to go through everything to get to where I needed to go. When I was at 36 and fighting Egginton, I was not willing to go through as much punishment, pain, hellacious type of fight as I was willing to at 25 years old, at 11 years earlier. So Tagoe, I feel like he hasn't gotten there. He's not gotten there yet. So I feel like he might still have that mindset where he's willing to go through everything in order to achieve this. He's been at this, I assume, for a long time. He's got 33 pro fights. I assume he's had an amateur career. You know, you don't just turn pro without knowing how to box. So I assume he's been doing this most of his life. So, and he's not gotten the shot he's deserved, despite having a good record.
Is this his biggest fight of his career?
Absolutely. I mean, this is an opportunity for him to be seen in other countries, against one of the major stars in global boxing. So if he puts up a good performance with Garcia, or even he beats Garcia, this gets him other high level opportunities, which at his age he needs them at this point. He can't just keep kind of wondering, keep winning again, you know, even against good opposition, and nobody sees it, nobody understands it. It's like that saying, if you knock out, if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it if there's nobody there, right? If anybody, well, not if there's nobody there, but if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody? You get the saying. I feel like George Bush when he's trying to say that saying. Yeah. But you know, if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? You know, it doesn't make a noise. If there's nobody there, it doesn't make a noise.
Shit in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially the same thing. So, you know, Tagoe is one of these guys. He's been getting these kind of wins, but nobody's really cared as much as they should have. And now the Garcia fight, everybody's going to care this one. You know, they're going to be analyzing his performance too.
He's a 14-1 favorite. He's a 13-1 favorite. No. Ryan, he's
a 14-1 favorite.
7-1 dog. But yeah, he's a 14-1 hit.
So you're 14-1 underdog.
No.
Tagoe.
No. Tagoe's 7-1.
Okay.
And then
Ryan's 14-1.
14-1, yeah. As the favorite.
Yeah. So you know what? You know, Tagoe's. Hey, listen.
I know you don't bet, but plus 750 after that mentality.
And no one. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, you know what, Pretty Jimmy's been. That's the nickname, Jimbo, Pretty Jimmy, for Twitter. As you can see, he's a stylish guy, the producer of the show. But nonetheless, Jimmy is feeling high right now on his high horse because he won last night at some blackjack. So he's talking about bringing the odds into the mix and betting. Yeah. So Jimmy's talking about underdog because he's got a couple extra bucks in his pocket from last night cracking the casino and blackjack. So are you saying with that extra couple of bucks, he might as well throw something on Tagoe, and anybody out there should be doing the same thing?
His biggest fight of his career against a guy who hasn't fought in 14 months.
Jimmy's picks. You guys have it. Jimmy's picks.
Probably won't put his name on any picks.
I don't gamble like that, man. I mean, I'll gamble every once in a while, man. I'm not really a gambler. Somebody told me a long time ago, because when I was young, I went through my phase of betting stuff, and I had a hot phase, and I had a cold phase, I had a hot phase, cold phase. You know, you don't win in the end because the odds makers are there to disrupt you, and they do that. So that's how they win in the end. But somebody told me one time, because I was so pissed off about losing a soccer bet. By the way, at those times, those soccer bets I was making, it turns out that in Europe, a lot of games were being sold off and bought. So I was making bets on games that were already in the bag, and I don't even get reimbursements for those. So I was saying that I was complaining about that I lost this bet, and this guy from my neighborhood told me, if you sweat them, don't bet them. So basically, if you work hard for your money and you're sweating for it, don't bet. So that's my I kind of always kept that in mind, and I don't gamble that often.
Okay, so betting aside, going into this, what's your prediction? Week out.
It's hard to bet against Garcia here, but I wouldn't be shocked at the upset. This will be a monster upset. This will be like upset of the year type of upset. But again, here's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking for Garcia's commitment if he winds up in a tough fight. I'm curious to see if Tagoe can make this rough, can make this rugged, can put Garcia in a situation where he's once again asking himself questions like Luke Campbell put him in. Obviously, Ryan answered the question when it came to the Luke Campbell fight. But having not been in there for a while and not been in a tough fight for a while now, and not been in a fight in general for a while, if these questions are asked of Ryan again, now with the more success that he's had since, because I'm sure he's been monetizing the hell out of his social media even since that, maybe possibly even more, making more money. So are you still committed in that way if you wind up in a hellacious fight again? Can Tagoe bring you to that place? I don't think Tagoe's ability is what Luke Campbell's ability was. Let's face it, Campbell was an Olympic gold medalist, and if it wasn't for the fact that the 2 title shots he got were against super fighters like Jorge Linares and Vasyl Lomachenko, Luke Campbell would have probably become world champion in his career. It's just the luck of the draw that way. So if your only 2 title shots come against Linares and Lomachenko, odds are you're probably not going to be a world champion. I could probably be, if I was that weight class, I'd probably be in that mix too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think, judging on me, that I would have, if I was that weight, I would have beat Linares and Lomachenko. So if my only 2 title shots came against guys like that, I would also never have become world champion. So what I'm saying is, by analyzing it that way, Luke Campbell, for me, is championship level material. He just had the bad luck of having his only 2 title shots against super fighters. And as an Olympic gold medalist, he was quality, crafty, southpaw, very quality fighter. So that win really, I rate it. I rate it a lot. It's just, man, I don't know, man. I just don't know if Garcia has the same willingness to go through the hellacious fire again and again and again. I'm a fan of him. Listen, I think he'd be a terrific poster boy for boxing instead of like your Jake Pauls of the world, who I don't have anything against personally. I think Jake Paul, from the things I hear, is a really good guy and does a lot for boxers. But I just feel like the poster child for boxing needs to be a guy who has this monster pedigree. Garcia has a terrific pedigree. He's just, I don't know if it's about his commitment. If you half-ass this sport, man, let me tell you, if you half-ass this sport, you are going to not last long, and you're going to pay for it, you know? So we'll see. We'll see. Because I feel like Tagoe may not have all the promotability, but he's definitely rugged, and he's definitely committed fully to this thing.
I feel like he has one of those names that just pop up in an upset, like a Douglas Otago.
Look at this. Look at Jimmy again. Jimmy's fat. Jimmy's on his high horse after last. Jimmy, let me tell you something, because Jimmy's young. He's 24 years old. You don't always crack them like that. You may have had a great night cracking them last night, but it's not always the case that you're going to keep cracking them. So the whole problem with cracking the casino is that it brings you back to try to keep cracking them again and again and again, and you eventually give it back plus and then some. Yeah. So you're confident right now on picking the underdogs.
The only thing I'm saying is because Burchell was a 6-1 favorite, and the guy was plus,
and the guy was African as well, right?
And it's plus 400.
Right? Where was Burchell's opponent from? Wasn't he African guy?
I think he was African.
Yeah, they're getting rough over there, bro. They're getting rough over there. Same weight class too.
And he.
Oh, I just thought of this.
And he was gone for 14
Same
months.
Weight class too, bro.
Same weight class.
And you know what?
For 14 months.
If Tagoe wins this fight, or even puts up a good performance, maybe an all-African showdown in Africa with those two guys could be pretty fun to watch. You know,
that would be good.
'Cause I'm one thing I'm pretty sure of is Tagoe's commitment to this fight. You know, Tagoe is going to be. I feel like, based on what I've heard of him, he's been a lot of high praise about him. He's fell below the radar. I feel like there's going to be people that are going to be watching this, and he knows that, and he's going to give it his all. Now, does that guarantee a win? I don't know, you know, but I do think he has the mindset, and even he does have the talent, obviously, looking at his record, to push Garcia a little bit. Does he have the durability? I believe he does as well. And if Garcia is pushed in this way, how is he going to respond? How's he going to answer? And if he wins again in a fight where he's pushed, is he going to once again take some bunch of layoffs? Because that's what we don't want.
What happens if he wins it second round KO or earlier round KO? Ryan Garcia.
It doesn't matter. I mean, what if he was knocked down in round one?
What's next step for
Ryan what if he was knocked down in round one? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing.
No, I'm just.
Okay, what if he blows him out? What if he blows out Tagoe?
Just all the questions
then I think,
then what's up with Ryan?
What I've noticed from Garcia is, he'll get right back in the ring. He's got no problem when he's on that high horse.
He answers all the questions about him by just
blowing him out. Yeah. My worry for Garcia is not if he wins easily. If he wins easily, I think confidence-wise and my mentality-wise, you're going to jump right back in there. My worry is if you're in another tough fight, are you going to take the same mindset as a man? You know what? I don't want to go through that for a while, if ever again, because I'm making good money right here off this social media right here. My brand is doing good. You know, if I get knocked on my ass, does my brand take a hit, and monetarily does that hurt me? You know. It's the time we live in, bro. I didn't make up the rules. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So you don't hate Ryan for it, hate the game for creating it. I personally don't agree with it. I'd love to see the poster boy for boxing be somebody like that and be an excellent fighter who has the ability to be an excellent fighter like Ryan does, as well as the promotable aspect of it. But unfortunately, when somebody's that marketable in today's day and age, they can make money doing just about anything due to this technological era that we live in. And so fighters are going to maybe not commit to being fighters as much anymore. We'll see how it plays out with Ryan, bro.
I was gonna say, because of the rematch clause with Kambosos and Haney, I'd say he'd be next up in line for that. But
I think if he looks good, I think if he looks good, I think so. Also, I think Golden Boy's noticing that he's not exactly chomping at the bit to fight every second, so you got to take advantage while he's getting in there and fighting, because he may just take another break. It doesn't seem like he cares if he takes breaks or not. Somebody in his position would usually be chasing the title. Once you feel like you're getting closer, you're just chomping at the bit to get that title shot. He's the opposite, So I feel like if you got him in the ring and you got him active, you want to, at this point, instead of maybe letting him mature a little more, where you would with another prospect, you're going to see the upside with him, and you're going to say, it's almost like a fighter with an injury. I felt like maybe I was rushed a little bit into the Cotto fight, but I can't blame anybody that did that, because my hands were constantly an issue. So it's like, okay, let's just put him in there and see if he sinks or swims, because if we keep trying to develop him, he's going to keep hurting his hands and then developmental fights, and we may not ever get to monetize this kid, right? So I feel like with Ryan, it's not the injuries that are a problem. I feel like with Ryan, it's the fact that he still may take layoffs just like somebody with injuries, and so you wind up in a position where you're not monetizing him. You still invested in this guy. People that invest their money in fighters, they do want to make their money back. It's not a charity. So I feel like they may, if he looks good, man, I'll tell you, even if he look fast, they may just try to push the title shot. I'll tell you, because you know, he's got enough popularity to where it'll sell. If Ryan Garcia fights for a world championship, it'll sell.
And so that rematch, does it only happen if Kambosos loses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
rematch
Kambosos wins.
If Kambosos wins, there's no rematch, or unless maybe it's some kind of controversy or good fight. You know, they could make the.
So Kambosos wins, you could easily see either Ryan or Loma, depending on.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be in a rush to fight Lomachenko. I'll be honest with you. I'll give Kambosos credit though. He had no problem fighting Lomachenko. I don't see. I'll be honest, bro. I don't see Haney in a rush to fight Lomachenko. I don't. I don't. Haney will say what he needs to promote himself, which is fine. But I don't believe he wanted the Lomachenko fight. I think if you want Lomachenko is easy to find. And I don't have a problem with you not wanting Lomachenko, honestly. I don't have a problem with anybody not wanting Lomachenko. Just don't pretend like you wanted everybody. That's all, Yeah. And yesterday he was saying that Kambosos didn't choose to fight him. Haney forced it. Yeah, but that's because Kambosos was going to fight the better opponent instead. So then the better opponent wasn't available anymore because Lomachenko was in the military in Ukraine. So then obviously Haney's the next best thing because Haney's still very marketable. He's a good fighter, world class he is. And, you make the fight that people want to see, people are talking about. So, it wasn't like you had to pull Kambosos' leg to get him to fight Haney because he was scared of him, that wasn't the case at all, Kambosos was about to fight the tougher opponent. I believe this fight is more 50-50 than was Kambosos and Lomachenko. And so for that reason, I think I actually like the matchup better, and I think it's a more fun matchup. And it allows us to see just, how far along Haney is in the development, because I don't consider him a champion, but I do consider him a guy who's a good fighter. And now, with Kambosos, who is a rugged legitimate world champion, it's basically his best opponent yet, and he stepped up to this level. It's the first championship level lightweight that he's fought. Jojo Diaz was a little bit past his prime, and also his best weight is 130 pounds. At 135 pounds. I think that Kambosos is a legitimately rugged, natural 135-pounder, and he's the legitimate world champion. So I think this is going to answer a lot of questions with Haney and Kambosos too, as well. Not two, because they could be a two if Haney wins.
Well, we'll see if after Garcia versus Tagoe, if it ends up being Ryan.
Yeah, we will. Well, first, let's see what happens with Kambosos and Haney, because I love that matchup, honestly. I feel like it's a 50-50 fight. I feel like Kambosos and Haney is a 50-50 fight. It's a great clash of styles. Haney does what he does, and he has an athletic style, a timing-based style. Kambosos is a rugged guy. There's questions about how Haney can handle a rough guy. Have we seen him win in with a guy who has the ability to rough him up? We've seen him with guys who maybe want to rough him up, but just aren't good enough. But Kambosos may be one of those guys that, he's a legitimate world champion. So he's a rugged guy who's going to understand how to get to Haney and rough him up if he needs to. So there's a lot of curiosity here with that. And I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight. I know who's not happy about it. I think Eddie Hearn. Did you see what Eddie Hearn said about that?
Yeah.
Yo, you don't have a written contract with a guy, I guess. I personally, I've made plenty of handshake agreements that I've honored, but I guess. Haney, Haney, if you had to look at Haney's history, he came up in the Showtime showbox with them, and then he just left them for Matchroom. So you kind of already knew, the kind of business ethics that were there.
That deal? How does that work? DAZN gets nothing of that deal?
Nothing.
So,
but
he's on.
But he fought on their network. He's giving them whatever ratings they had. Listen,
but for his biggest fight, he's not going to be on it.
No, he left. But he first used Showbox as his developmental platform, and then left for Matchroom. So you kind of already knew the ethics that were there if something bigger came along. I don't know, man.
But he's taking less money.
Who?
Haney for the fight that he says he's worth.
Taking less money? I think he's got the same offer as
he's all
Lomachenko,
pissed about going to Australia and with everything.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sure he's getting good money. He did a 3-fight deal with Top Rank and DeBella, the co-promotion.
Oh, okay, that's what. So he completely left Matchroom.
Well, I don't think he was ever in a contract with Matchroom, because to be able to just leave like that, I don't think obviously there was nothing on paper, So
yeah, I wasn't sure though. I saw DeBella was in there. I was just like,
yeah, and he had nothing on paper with anybody linking him to Showtime either when because he had several fights on Showbox, and I remember I was working at Showtime, looking forward to seeing if he developed past the Showbox.
Is that the way to play it now?
No written contract. You gotta have a lot of money, bro. You have a no written contract, no guarantees. I mean, you got to pay your own way a lot of times, and you got to make your connections. You know,
so he's betting on himself.
Bill Haney has invested in his son, and Bill Haney has the money to invest in his son. Not everybody's in that position. You know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, man, I wish I had somebody like that in my position when I was turning pro. I wouldn't have signed certain contracts, you know. But you know, it's terrific to be in that position. Can't hate the player. Gotta hate the game, right? So you know, he was never in a locked in contract long term, and Bill Haney's obviously an intelligent businessman. He's been successful himself, and now based on Haney's ability to be free to move around, whether you agree with the ethics or not is a separate thing, but based on Haney's ability to be free and move around, I mean, it's given him a lot of options to both demand money and also keep a power position over your promoter, because when you're locked in, the promoter kind of takes over the power position in terms of a lot of the negotiations. So you know what? There's pros and cons to business, bro. You know, I mean, this is the capitalist world we live in for now.
All right. Let's go for Ryan Garcia.
Okay, so let's check out Ryan Garcia. Was it April 9th, right? Next week?
April 9th, yeah.
A week from now, this will be, by the time this comes out, it might be this week. Who else is on that card? Marlon Esparza, right?
And Shane Mosley Jr.
And Shane Mosley Jr. versus Gabriel Rosado. That's a good fight. Esparza and then Sinisa Superbad Estrada have had their main rivalry. I love that rivalry. Esparza.
I want them to fight again.
Esparza is in Texas, so she's from Texas, so she'll probably have some hometown
and Sinisa
fan base.
Because it's a Golden Boy show too, right?
Sinisa does go to these Golden Boy shows, but right now Sinisa's actually been had some issues with the Golden Boy. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. I saw a post. I saw a post on her story.
Oh, really?
I saw a post on her story where it showed the Will Smith slap with Chris Rock, and it was Chris Rock, and on top of him it says Golden Boy, and on top of Will Smith it says me. so this isn't something that this is already something that she put publicly. She was supposed to be on one of these cards. I don't know what happened. So
she fought in December, so I don't know.
No, but she was scheduled to fight, I think, on this card actually. But now that's out. Yeah, we'll so Marlon's in there, and I think Marlon's going to be looking to build up momentum maybe for another fight. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And Rosado and Mosley Jr. really, I think it's a really solid crossroads matchup. We'll see the kind of level Mosley Jr. is on. He's always been solid, but he hasn't been able to kind of overcome this level right here that he's at right now with Rosado. Rosado may be slipping a little bit. He's a little bit long in the tooth. He's had some great fights. He's always competitive, even against top fighters, even if he comes up short. He's had a lot of bad decisions go against him. So I think this could be maybe the most fun fight on the card. We'll see. Guaranteed. Rosado's never in a bad fight. And Mosley Jr. makes some fun fights too. So honestly, you're not going to go wrong, even God forbid the main event is a dud. I think Rosado and Mosley Jr. is a good fight that will, make it worthwhile to watch regardless.
Awesome.
That's it, man. All right. So that's my preview for Garcia and Tagoe. And let's check out to see if the progression of Garcia continues. Also, all the curiosities about Emmanuel Tagoe. We'll find out everything about him in this fight as well. Check it out, April 9th. And we'll see. We'll talk about Campbell and Haney a little more as that fight gets closer. But the lightweight division is hot. It's fun. Boxing is getting hot in the month of April. We'll see you soon on Paulie TV. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm Paulie Malignaggi.